Hello and welcome to Global News Factory. I'm your host Vikrant. The West is at war, a silent war, and it is being waged against the BRICS. This is not a collection of random conflicts, it is a well knit campaign to weaken Russia, isolate China, sabotage India, and break the backbone of BRICS. Let's unpack it. First front, we all know about this, the Ukraine war, the proxy war that was never about Ukraine. Let's get one thing straight, Ukraine was never the point, Russia was. For 3 years now, the US and Europe have poured billions into Ukraine not to help it win, but to bleed Russia dry. That is the plan, war as economic strangulation. Over 15,000 sanctions slapped on Russia, the highest against any country in modern history. Russian banks were cut off from SWIFT, energy firms blacklisted, airspace closed, ships blocked, media banned. They even tried to hijack Russian oil tankers at sea. Anything to disrupt trade, anything to starve the Russian economy. NATO backed intel operations targeting Russian assets, Russian air bases. And when that was not enough, the US and UK trained Kiev commandos to sabotage oil depots inside Russia. It is not a military campaign, it is economic warfare in uniform. And now, second front, which is the ongoing war between Iran and Israel. From shadow operations to full-on bombing, the Western war machine shifted gears. First, they let Israel launch attacks on Iranian military and energy sites, and then came the main act. The US itself bombed Iran's nuclear sites, including Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan on June 21st. And yet, all the drama yielded nothing. Satellite imagery shows Fordo still standing, no crater, no collapsed mountains, just scratches at the entry points and at the surface. Despite 6 GBU 57 bunker buster bombs, the world's deepest underground enrichment plant shrugged it off. And there are speculations that Iran may have evacuated these sites before the attack happened. The nuclear material was not there. The IAEA has confirmed it that there are no radiation, and even in one of the sites there was not even any nuclear material. So translation, the mission failed. But the intent was clear. Neutralize Iran, another BRICS partner, and provoke regime change by bombing national pride. Did not work. Now we have third front, which was in South Asia, India, Pakistan. Okay, it began with the attacks on Hindu tourists in India's Kashmir, which was traced back to Pakistani proxies. India responded hard, aerial blitz on 11 Pakistani bases. Retaliation was swift, surgical, and public. And how did the West react? By embracing the Pakistani army chief, by offering weapons to Pakistan. Germany and US are both rushing defense equipment to Pakistan, hoping to chip away at India's strategic edge. There are reports that Germany has offered Pakistan its IRIS-T air defense system, which are already in use in Ukraine. Why? Because India is getting too strong, too independent, and too close to Russia. That makes Delhi a problem in Washington and Brussels. And now, here is the biggest development. US Senator Lindsey is pushing a vote on a sanctions bill that openly threatens India and China just because they buy Russian energy. Let's call it what it is, economic blackmail. The so-called Sanctioning Russia Act proposes tariffs up to 500% on countries that trade with Russia but do not supply Ukraine. It is basically saying if you do not do our war, we will hurt your economy. India buys discounted Russian oil, China does too. So this bill targets both. And Graham calls it, shameless man calls it bunker buster, economic bunker buster.
How does this affect Russia? I've got 84 co-sponsors for a Russian sanctions bill that is an economic bunker buster against China, India, and Russia for their brutal invasion, Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine. I think that bill's going to pass. We're going to give President a waiver. It'll be a tool in his toolbox to bring Putin to the table.
Is it time to vote on that bill?
It's time to vote. Putin is getting worse, not better. Give the president a bunker buster tool economically to get Putin to the table. Putin is more aggressive, not less. It's time to change tactics when it comes to Putin.
All right.
Such a bold talk for a bill that would require the US to sanction itself, since Washington still buys Russian uranium. Just 2 years back, the US purchased a record volume of enriched uranium from Russia, exceeding 70 tons and totaling $1.2 billion. Yes, the war was going on, by the way, at that time. The hypocrisy could not be louder. And if the sanctions were not enough, the West is back to its colonial playbook. Divide and conquer. Recently, the New York Times ran a leak, so-called leak, claiming that Russia no longer trusts China and sees Beijing as a strategic threat. Of course, it was based on anonymous sources and conveniently timed. The idea? Drive a wedge, make Moscow doubt Beijing, make Beijing question Moscow. That is their plan as of now. But both sides, Russia and China, called the bluff. Kremlin dismissed it as wishful thinking. Beijing did not even dignify it with a full response. You see, it is psychological warfare. The goal, break the BRICS alliance from within. But here is the problem. None of it is working. Despite the sanctions, the strikes, the media war, the military pressure, BRICS is not breaking. Russia is still standing. The ruble did not collapse. Oil exports did not dry up. Moscow just rerouted everything east. In fact, now Japan is also buying energy from Russia, by the way. In fact, Putin last week dismissed claims the war in Ukraine is devastating the Russian economy, citing continued growth, low debt, and economic diversification as signs of resilience. Then we come to Iran. Iran absorbed a direct US-Israeli attack and came out more defiant. Its people rallied, not revolted as expected by Israel. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev has said that several countries are poised to directly provide Iran with their nuclear warheads. Now, which countries are these? I assume BRICS or BRICS partners, right? Then India also bombed back hard and fast, then ignored Western whining. Delhi is not playing sidekick anymore. And recently, it also called out Trump's lies on ceasefire between India and Pakistan. India said, "No, Trump, you did not play any role." And China's economy is on track to become the world's largest, with or without Western approval. Energy, infrastructure, everything is expanding in China. And South Africa and Brazil continue strengthening BRICS trade and defense ties. They are looking east, not west. Meanwhile, BRICS is planning its banking system and independent trade networks. Dollar's demise is certain. That is what I can say for now. The silent war against BRICS has a loud message. This is not a conspiracy. This is a pattern, a global strategy. The West is trying to stop the rise of BRICS not by outcompeting it, by sabotaging it. But here is the twist. BRICS is not just surviving, it is expanding. We have new members now. and even more are lining up. From the Gulf to Africa to Southeast Asia, the message is clear. We do not want your wars, your weapons, or your warnings. We want sovereignty. The US can throw bombs, Europe can push sanctions, but they are not slowing BRICS down. This is the new world order, and the old guard cannot handle it. And that is it for today. Thanks for staying with me. You're watching Global News Factory.
We are taking to the skies, filled with new hope and ambition, as the proud flag bearer of a soaring nation. Air India.